Well, and Preston, court documents allege that Miles Hudson is the poster child for excessive speed and noise in the city of Seattle. He's facing a potential $83,000 fine and criminal charges. But today in court, his attorney said he might be getting ready to compromise with the city. The backdrop for Miles Hudson's social media videos are the streets of Seattle.
It could wake me up like right out of a dead sleep.
But these middle-of-the-night high-speed rampages have prompted mountains of complaints from people who live downtown.
If he isn't going to dismantle whatever illegal modifications were made to his car, then his car just needs to be taken away.
Today, Hudson's attorney appeared on his behalf for charges of reckless driving.
I'm asking for an additional 30 days so that then I can explore resolutions with the city to trial. We have that exchange.
While there may be a resolution coming in his Seattle case, Hudson is also facing legal trouble in Renton, where he appeared in court this week on an assault charge.
Miles Hudson, number 15 on the calendar.
Okay, Mr. Hudson, we're getting kind of a lot of background noise.
After telling him to turn down his music, the judge ordered Hudson to get a mental health evaluation due in August. People who we talked to in Seattle say they hope the city can put a stop to the extreme noise from Hudson's so-called Belltown Hellcat.
He's posting about it on social media. He clearly doesn't care about the impact that he's having on the greater community.
And the complaints against that car have been stacking up in court. Now, Miles is facing an $83,000 fine as part of that lawsuit that the city's filed against him. He is due back in court on that hearing next week, and that's when we may find out more about whether or not the city can actually enforce that $83,000 fine against him and what he plans to do in response to the lawsuit. Reporting live in Seattle, Jeremy Harris, KOMO News.
Well, we could be close to a resolution involving this illegally modified Dodge Charger, also known as the Belltown Hellcat. Its owner and driver, Miles Hudson, had an appearance in court earlier today. He may be planning to make a deal with the city over his behavior behind the wheel. Tonight, I talked with Jeremy Harris about the latest updates in this case.
Well, Jeremy, thanks so much for joining us here on Our Seattle Tonight. So there's quite a bit to unpack, some new information. Give our viewers the latest, and also, how does this thing get resolved in court? How does this just get all resolved? It seemed like there's so much to deal with here.
Well, and Preston, we saw today in court that Miles Hudson, his attorney, told the judge that she's in the process of talking with the city about a resolution to the case. Keep in mind, he is charged with 2 counts of reckless driving. That's stemming from an incident where Seattle police say he was recording himself driving his souped-up Dodge Charger at 107 miles an hour down 4th Avenue here in Seattle. That's an extreme speed for that road for sure. So the city wants to prosecute him on those reckless driving charges, and we heard today from his attorney that she is talking with the city and that she has reviewed their evidence against him, which includes, of course, his own social media videos.
So he's got some, 700,000 followers on Instagram, maybe more now. And the more this is publicized, the more popular he'll probably get on Instagram for, the wrong reasons. But the city, the courts here, really trying to hold him accountable. But how does this get resolved and go away? Because I can't imagine someone like this, especially, making money off the likes, the follows, the shares and all those things on social media, would just stop this overnight, especially since he's been able to keep at it for so long.
Well, the city's pursued a lawsuit against him, and as part of that lawsuit, Preston, it's coming with fines of $1,300 a day that his car is out of compliance with the city ordinance. Reminder, this is about the noise that his car is making as it's driving through the city. We have talked with several people, and there have been hundreds of people who've complained about him online, saying that his loud exhaust will wake them up in the middle of the night. And this goes even just beyond the occasional loud car going past your house, or, hey, you live in a city, you're going to hear some road noise. We're talking about extreme levels of noise that wake up thousands of people multiple times a night. And that's why the city really rallied around each other and went after Miles Hudson, filing complaints with the court, with the police department, and saying the city needs to go after him. So how does this get resolved? Well, the lawsuit's going to be the really interesting element of this, because the city says they want as much as $83,000 in fines against him. Whether a judge will impose those fines, that's yet to be seen, but he could be on the hook here for tens of thousands of dollars to the city, and then he's going to be forced potentially by a judge to fix the car. We already know that a judge has ordered him, he can't drive the car So we'll see what the judge's next step is if the judge sides with the city and saying he is flaunting the rules here and he is just making a mockery of the city and the rule of law, and potentially there could be even steeper consequences.
How did the court hearing go today? Anything unusual happen today, or was it just business as usual?
It was nothing unusual, Preston, but what stood out to me was the lawyer's statement. She said, we need 30 days. We're in the process of negotiating with the city, or we're talking about a resolution instead of going to trial. Of course, you know, he's guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty, and he has a right to go to trial and demand that the city prove beyond a reasonable doubt. The city says, we have your Instagram videos. You filmed yourself driving 107 miles an hour down the road. That's pretty compelling evidence to me. So we'll see if the defense attorney wants to resolve it, maybe take a plea agreement, or maybe come to some sort of resolution with the city on this.
Jeremy, do you have any idea at this point how much money he's made off of posting these videos on social media? He seems to, you know, really be into the social media aspect of all of this, and that's what's really been driving him to do this, boasting about his followers, etc. But I'm just curious as to the monetary value of all this for him and why it's worth it.
Well, the police report alleges, Preston, that Miles Hudson told the police that he paid for his car through his money he's made on social media. So clearly it is lucrative. He also has Instagram, he has Twitch. So these are platforms that he can make money on. We just interviewed somebody who's been one of the main people in downtown Seattle who's been trying to get the city to address this level of noise and address the issue with Miles Hudson. And he told me that he had actually reached out to Meta to say, why are you allowing him to post these videos online if this is where he's making his money from? He is basically alleging that Miles Hudson's making money, making his living off of making everybody else in Seattle miserable. And so there is that question there for what should the social media companies do in a case like this, where there's the allegation that, you know what, he's making a living off of making everybody else downtown miserable, waking people up, causing all sorts of problems with his car. But here's the other thing too, Press, I want to point out. He's not the only one who does this. There's a lot of cars around Seattle and around Western Washington that are extremely loud and can cause disruptions to people who are just inside their homes. So it's a broader issue than just beyond Miles Hudson, but he really has become the poster child for this issue, especially in Seattle.
It's interesting because you talk about the noise and the different cars driving through the city and kind of causing a ruckus, if you will, in some cases. But you also got sometimes and some nights here, as you know, outside of our station here, right next to the Space Needle, you've got, 70 motorcycles that show up and rev their engines, do wheelies and skid outs throughout the, throughout the intersection. And that's incredibly loud. And they'll do that all throughout the city. So it kind of opens up a can of worms as to, what is legal. And if he's going to be held accountable, then I would imagine that other people should be held accountable as well. I got one question for you, though. As far as being in court, do you know if he has, an attorney that he's hired, or is this a court-appointed attorney? Or you know?
Yeah, I do. From the court documents, it looks like it's a private attorney. It did not appear to
Okay.
me to be a public defender.
So he's got the money to hire an attorney. This isn't cheap,
Yeah, I would assume that's the case based on what I've seen in the documents.
All right, so it sounds like he's got enough to sustain himself through somewhat of a decent court hearing and a lawsuit. So,
well, according to him, he's rolling in it, and he says it paid for his car, and he's going to keep doing it. That's according to Seattle police, who say he basically bragged about it. He has kept posting videos, and he's making money off this. So we'll see what the city does if they have any teeth to end up shutting him down.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they actually hold him accountable and make him pay that $80,000 in fines, considering he, boasts about having the money to do all of this. So that'll be interesting. Well, Jeremy, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for the updates. Keep us posted as this saga continues to develop. We appreciate it. Thanks for being with us here on Arc Seattle tonight.
You bet, Preston. Thanks for having me.